Welcome, Justin.
Thank you.
What inspired you to put your name forward as a candidate in this election?
For myself, ultimately, it just really boiled down to my kids. I'm a father of three. I volunteer with sports, coaching hockey and that during the winter. And these kids have a great opportunity and great city to grow up in. And for myself, I felt that it was really, how do we make it better and how do we build a legacy that the kids can take over, that we leave them in a good spot financially and socially within the city. And really, that was my driving force to be put forward, or to put my name forward, was really just how do we leave a legacy that our children can be proud of, but also that we can pass that baton in a healthy state to them.
So what experience will assist you in being an effective elected representative?
So I do come with management experience. I've run a number of retail locations across the province. I've run some small locations. I've run some bigger businesses, just over 90 and under $100 million. I've worked well with the individuals there. I've seen and developed the business to be able to grow, as well as developed associates into their next levels of their career paths. And for myself, ultimately, it boils down to just transferring over that knowledge of really growing the business that is our local economy, and taking care of, in the case of the associates, it just translates to our citizens and how can we get them to those next phases in their life, next challenges, but also growing their kind of, I don't want to say stature, but growing their kind of position in kind of where they're at in their life right now. Whether that be financially with creating better economy for jobs, workforce, things like that, even training, or whether that be socially with the different social aspects, such as our great community amenities that are in town and just increasing the access to that. So,
excellent. So what do you believe are the important issues facing our region?
I truly believe at the core of it, there's two really key pieces. One of which is our financial responsibilities. And in the last 5 years, we've added an exponential amount of debt, almost to the range of 185%. And yes, there's some COVID aspects to that. But I really feel that there is some financial burdens and financial decision-making that hasn't been necessarily the right calls to make. And we're starting to see that, when we take a look at our interest payments per year, every 5 years we could buy another co-op place if we wanted to, or other hot topic issues such as putting a pool or recreation facility on the south end. So I believe tightening up our spending, as well as reducing our debt, is one of the key aspects so that we can continue to expand the amenities within our city. And the next one, I believe, is attracting workforce. A lot of the times on social media, or even in my interview with the news, I talked about the next 10 years are very important. If not, we could start to see some very disastrous outcomes come the end of that 10-year term. When we looked at 55% of our workforce, or our population is 55 years of age, 10 years time, they're going to be retiring from the workforce. And we do have a relatively slow population growth at 0.5%. If we do not start attracting a lot of key industries and key workforces in that younger demographic to backfill our workforce, we could be in some very dangerous waters in the next 10 years.
So how do you believe your election platform or priorities will benefit and improve the lives of our constituents?
From kind of some of my platform pieces, we talk about building upon the Medicine Hat advantage. When I moved here in '98, I went into high school at Hat High. The talk of Medicine Hat was always our locally owned utilities. We always had the lowest rates in the province, or at least that was the preconceived notions. I feel that we have gotten very far away from that, and even to the point where we've had council debate the idea of selling off our utilities. This, to me, is very concerning. This is the thing that should be setting us apart, attracting new industry, knowing that we could have the best rates for business, personal, home, etc. We have to take care of that, and we have to do some really deep digging to find out what the root causes on our inefficiencies or our breakdowns on why we've gone from being the lowest to not necessarily the highest, but not the lowest either. There's been some, I think, poor decision making when it comes to those utilities. And while council did approve, a kickback, we'll say, for everybody just a few weeks ago, we're still seeing some pretty high rates. Prime example for myself, our utility bill was $830 before that kickback. Now, we do run a home-based business, so there is some of those pieces, but I definitely think going back to our key resources and key advantages and making them advantages again.
So what strategies and specific policies would you suggest that would address the pillars in the Chambersville Prosperity platform? So those include innovation and competitive strategy, infrastructure development, image and branding, workforce development, and of course, financial and business supports.
When we take a look at business and financial supports, we've got to go and take a look at investing in really competing with our local competition. And what I would say local competition, that's our Lethbridges, that's our Calgarys. Calgary has one of the most aggressive entrepreneurial plans to really reinvigorate their economy. We have got to come up with solutions to compete with these municipalities. Calgary is 3 hours away. Lethbridge is, call it, 2 hours away. And in those municipalities, they're seeing relatively rapid population expansion compared to ours. And I think a lot of that has to do with our taxation, our red tape starting businesses, our red tape around, clarity and transparency of how we get those businesses off the ground. There's been a lot of constituents really frustrated with the red tape. Having lived it starting a food truck in town here, you go through all the checklists, everything's done, and then you go through your inspection and, oh, by the way, these 9 things needed to be done as well. Well, where are those on the checklist that you've given us to do that? I also think that when we take a look at our fees, permits, taxes, we are very high compared to a lot of our other competition, and we need to reevaluate that. Myself, I would like to see a 2 to 4 year plan where we cut that differential down by half and then continue to build towards that in the future, where we can reduce it down to being an advantage to come to here on top of our things like our utilities. Workforce development, I think that there's a great opportunity to partner with the college. There's opportunities we could, come up with different ways to, keep some of that workforce here. And as well as imaging and branding, I think we've got a lot of opportunity in regards to attracting family-based demographics to the city, to take advantage of our the openness to our workforce that's going to be coming, as well as the amenities.
So we have a few minutes to wrap up here, Justin. Do you have any closing remarks or insights for our voting public?
I definitely think that this is a year where a lot of constituents want to see change. And, I think what's really resonating is things that have been acceptable in the past that are no longer acceptable in the eyes of voters. I just hope that I can really meet those expectations that our voters are bringing forward. There's different bylaws that can get looked at, and I think there's quite a few. I'll give you a couple here: the skateboard bylaw downtown, the school bus bylaw, where because of traffic flow, we hinder the safety of our children by not being able to use all 6 points of notification with the buses. And I think some of those things are really starting to come to light, and they should, because they're outdated and really don't necessarily make sense in today's world. So I hope to be able to tackle some of those issues that our constituents continue to bring forward. And
Wonderful. Well, thank you for your time today.
Thank you very much.